My name is Barry Alexander Morford. I was born in St Kilda. My old man was hard as nails. There was not a lot of love there. They were disciplinarians. Towards the end of her life, I mean, she was much more loving. When she got to she died 2-3 years ago. She was 98. And I think the old man was about the same age, but he died 10 years ago. So they had very long lives, but and they were very high achievers. Fantastic, loved it. I went to Solway State in Ashburton. We were. That's probably where we won a few premierships in cricket and footy and at the state school, and that's I remember that. That was pretty good. And then on to Caulfield Grammar, and my best teacher was the curator of the school oval. He was my best teacher at school. I was pretty much captain of cricket and footy, and I was in Aths. When I played the All Australian side, amateurs, they had scouts around and they asked me, and Ashburton, we were in the Hawthorn zone. We had zones in those days, so it wasn't like today. So you had to go to your own zone, so I went to Hawthorn. Kennedy was coach, John Kennedy Senior was coach. And I sort of walked onto the oval and didn't know what the hell I was, didn't know anyone, I didn't know anything, and all I got was this megaphone that shouted at me saying, "Son, you run when you hit this oval, you don't stop running until I tell you." So Son ran about 20 laps, and then finally Kennedy yelled and sort of said, "Son, get in here," because he'd called everyone into the middle. It was like the Dead Sea that it parted, and all the players were in the circle around Kennedy, and I got pushed into the middle. I ran into the middle and stopped because I was in the middle and I was going to get further instruction. And then he just bellowed at me again, and I said, "Who said to stop running?" So I stopped, so I jogged on the spot, and then he said, "Right, now we do backs and forwards. Son, you go down to full forward." Anyway, so I put my hand out to shake the full back's hand, because I didn't know anyone at that stage. And he just bonked me on the nose. And I said, "Oh God, this is a good start." So we did our backs and forwards, and round we go, and I had Peter Crimmins, who was a magnificent passer of the ball, or kick of the ball. He was putting it on my chest everywhere I went, and I kept on doing that, and we had to go the other way, and the rules changed, but I didn't know what the rules were anyway. So I stopped after I took a mark, and the bloke called Alan Martello, ran straight through me, and I woke up in the dressing room. Can't remember anything about it. And all I had sitting above me in the dressing room was just David Parkin, who was the captain. And he said, "Oh, Barry, I'm in charge. I'm looking after you." I said, "Well, you're going well so far." So that was my first night of training. And I think all they really wanted was me to say, "Well, thanks, but no thanks, I'll nick off." But I didn't. I kept on going back to training. I take a lot of interest in politics, but I can't do anything about it. Australia's not in the shape that I'd like to leave it, and I feel a bit guilty along with my generation about how we've left it. I think the beauty about my life is I've had so many different avenues to attack. So it hasn't been one job for 40 years or 50 years. I think this farm has been, it's been a Barry job. You know, I've been able to do it and make sure I've got to where I want it. At the end of the day, you can say I'm still not there, but but up until now, I'm pretty happy with where we are, having built the house and being part of it, project managing that, and getting all the pastures right, the fencing right. Yeah, it's a huge job. That's 10, 15 years of my life. So, so from that point of view, that's probably been the highlight. Apart from that, it's a lot of the other projects that I think we've done where they're smaller projects like our Sydney Olympic Games and then the sporting history with the footy and the cricket and the aths. They've all given me great pleasure and on the basis that I was reasonably successful. She's probably the most conservative of the kids, being the first. She loved life and she's always has. A very measured girl in most things that she's done. Scholastically, she was pretty fine. She got through her matric all right. She did it well. She played a lot of sport and she was good, damn good all-rounder. And was very much liked by all her peers. Melissa's a bit of a different bird. Probably Rachel's a bit laid back like I am, and Melissa's a bit like her mother. Very determined and very... But, very pretty similar. She was probably scholastically, sports-wise, she was probably Rachel's equal. So they all had a crack at most things. And she had a very good life with her peers as well. I mean, she was well liked at school and now in life. Jack grew up from grade 3, so what's that make you, about 11, 12 or whatever it was? He was separated from his sisters, so was a totally different ball game. It was like having an only child, because when I went to Sydney with Sue and Jack, the girls were just starting university and they went into a flat together at the age of 17, 18 or whatever they were. And Jack was in Sydney and saw very little of his sisters. So it was just a totally different ball game. It was like being an only child. He's got a bit of both in him. Yeah, a bit of both of Rachel and Melissa. He's pretty determined. He knows what he wants and he goes and gets it. So, but he's pretty affable and he's got a very laid-back attitude too, in a lot of ways. Yeah, very proud of him. I think that life changes. Yeah, you move on, and Rachel's got Daniel, and Melissa's got Simon, and now Jack's got Ava. The whole complexity of life changes, and there's nothing wrong with any of that. Yeah, they've all done pretty well, and I'm pretty happy with the whole lot of them as far as their partners and themselves are concerned. Rachel's 3 have sort of all got personalities now, and little Harry has up in Sydney, but Florence is, she's only a couple of months old. So I'll find it a lot easier once they've got personalities and they can get up and fire and come and see the old man. And I'm badged to a lot of them. There's no granddad or anything like that that suits me. So I'm looking forward to those years ahead. I think we've been married 4 or 5 years, and we were together for 5 years before that, and I would have met her 30 years ago through mutual friends. What Sarah's brought to my life is probably the antithesis of what I went through in the first marriage. Sue was a very corporate woman, still is, and as I said, Sarah's the absolute opposite. So that's a big adjustment. That was a big adjustment, and still is. So yeah, in Sue's case, it was all about the corporate life and where it was going to take her, and which was, you know, in itself was quite noble, you know, from the point of view of achieving, and she obviously has. But yeah, Sarah in the same boat is brought up 4 kids and done it hard, but devoted her life to it, and so that was totally different to Sue's attitude. Oh, I think she's been extremely resilient. I mean, she's had a pretty tough time, and left home when the kids were 4 kids under 10. In a lot of ways, it's been a really hard journey that she's had, and she's coped pretty well with it. Basically, what I've learned is have a go in life. Don't be afraid of putting your toe in the water. I've done a lot of things in my life, a lot of different things, and there's obviously a lot of up curve and a lot of down curve, but at the end of the day, I can safely say I've had a go, which I think is probably the best lesson I've learned. Trying to be a good father. I think that's one of the biggest issues in my life. Coupled with all the things that I've done, and trying to harness all that to help the kids out and make sure that they are sitting on the planet at 40 to 30 now in good shape, with the right values. I think that's the biggest part of my life. I've probably been kid-centric, children-centric, just making sure that I've got them on the right path in life. I've turned them into good parents in the case of 2 of them, with the right values in life. I've done my job, and I'm very chuffed about that. Got one to go. He hasn't got there yet, but I think as far as all the grandkids are concerned, they're all in good shape, and hopefully I've passed on the same values that they're going to be passed on. Yeah, I think if you go through life and you've done as much as I have, there's probably a lot of unfinished business in a lot of the things that I've done. I probably would have, if I had my time over again, I probably would have worked a bit harder at school, as scholastically. I did plenty of sport, but scholastically I didn't do a lot. Could I have been a league footballer? You'll never know. Really wasn't, the old man sort of said, well, Barley, as I told you the story, you're not leaving work at 3 o'clock, you'll leave at 4 o'clock with everyone else. So that cut that career short. I could have done a lot better at cricket had I have given it a real crack, I think. But at the end of the day, I've enjoyed every bit of it. Yeah, it probably without the ultimate achievements. I mean, I've just loved it. The enjoyment probably got in the way of success. So, anyway. A good friend, he's just a good ordinary bloke that looks after everyone around him. Does his bit. Nothing sensational, just that's me. That's how I'd like to be remembered. If you've given it a crack and you've had a go and you've done your best, it mightn't be all flash, but nevertheless, at least you've given it a go.